Hello chums, welcome back to our Game of Thrones Song of Ice and Fire tabletop role-playing campaign After the Fire. We are back with yet another episode. We are joined by the other half of the illustrious player party who have made their way to Summerhall, the Den of the Dragons. Damn it, that's what the fucking episode should have been called. I'm formally changing its title now to the Den of the Dragons. I'm not going to change anything, I can't be asked. Let's go around, say hi, introduce ourselves, and all that good stuff. And we've got one Millie Tyler. Hello, friend.
Oh, hello. Hi, I'm here. I'm definitely not panicking about intrigue rules and haven't been on and off panicking about this for the past week. Yeah, this is going to be a thing. I'm very, very looking forward to this. This is a conversation, hopefully, if it happens, that has been a long time coming.
Hey, it's PvP. If you don't want to intrigue, you can just shout at Don. That's cool. And you can just shout back.
I refuse to roll. I'm just angry.
That's cool. But if you do want to intrigue, let me know. I can always help out and make that work for you.
That would be great.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Been up to anything fun? How's your Mondays go? I haven't caught any more of the show there.
Yeah, Monday was fun. Monday I was over on the Wandering Inn playing our sort of spacey firefly cowboy beboppy thing. That's getting really interesting now. Yeah, we had a sort of pseudo horror episode by accident. Yeah. So, you know when you start to see those little cracks in personalities and the backstory just starting to leak through, and it's getting that's getting intriguing. But yeah, I'm good. It's been a week.
Yeah, fair.
Very busy with things I can't talk about yet.
Oh, good. Well, it's good that you're busy. Nice. Cool.
Yes.
And V, you're back with us as well. Hello. What have you been up to?
Working mostly. I gave myself a new project that I'm starting.
Okay.
So
just gave yourself one.
I did. I had an idea for a thing at the beginning of October that rattled around in my brain so much that I had to put it on paper, and I thought that would be it. And now it's turned into a whole couple of books that I'm thinking of writing. So
fair play.
Offers of the creepy and mysterious, weird, spooky, unsettling things born out of my love of creepypasta and internet mystery.
Nice. That sounds cool.
So
awesome.
Yeah, there's that. Yeah. And then just the usual working on TTRPG things, pretty much.
Nice one.
Many video games.
And you're back at Roleplay Haven, right? Tuesdays?
I am. Actually, I have just been voted in as the new branch manager.
Congrats.
Stratford. So I've given myself more work.
Yeah. Good. Are people coming back to it?
Slowly, slowly.
Yeah.
I think the problem is with our branch is a lot of people came on their way home, and where everyone's working from home, it's like too far out of the way for them to travel from home to get there, but it was fine on the way to work. So
I feel that like you don't kind of, when you're home, you kind of don't want to step out necessarily, like it's a whole thing. Whereas if you're already at work or you're out, you're kind of you're there.
You know, everyone's become hermits over the last 2 years of never leaving the house unless you absolutely have to. So I get it.
I certainly have. Yeah. Oh, thank you for the sub. Susie, let us know who you want your bonus dice to go to. For Millie, excellent. There you go, Millie.
Thank you. I need it.
And another one from Le Shunster. Thank you very much. Let's put those in. Beautiful. Awesome. All right. And of course, we have the Jonathan Fry. Hello.
Hello. Hi.
Hi. What are you getting up to these days?
Oh, stuff. I have a lot of campaigns that I'm running right now, so I've really just been focusing on that, starting a new campaign. It's a mothership campaign, so it's space horror.
Oh, wow.
And a new cyberpunk campaign. And because I'm like super extra, I basically rewrote half of Mothership to make it more what I wanted it to be. I built the cyberpunk game from scratch. So that's been taking up a lot of my time. But it's been a lot of fun. Yeah. So running games, and of course it's this time of the year. So like all of my games get a little horrific, more than normal, a little extra. So that's been a good time.
We had that, right? with, I mean, apart from just the random in Dark Sun, apart from just the random antloids we had to like hoof out of their home so we could have somewhere to stay.
And I would say like
the other stuff.
The weather, the weather was horrific. No, the gnolls, the
creepy gnolls, yeah.
The creepy gnolls, super creepy gnolls. It wasn't as bad as last year.
Things with the in the forest.
I tried so hard to get you to go into the crystalline forest. I said, I was like, there's water.
Any other character,
right to go in.
I think I would have been there. No. But I'm just like, he's like, no nonsense. It's like, nope.
No nonsense, Pacha.
Yeah.
Last year, I made your character have like a swarm of undead halflings trying to claw out of his stomach. That was a time.
Yeah, I distinctly remember that. Thank you. Yeah. Thanks so much. Awesome. Well, I'm glad you were having fun.
And I'm looking forward to today too. I have no idea what's going to happen since my character's intrigue curse last season, at the end of last season, after the red bedding. I really only have like one good intrigue move, only one. So we'll see how it goes.
Is it switched to combat?
Yeah.
I'm rethinking my plan for this entire episode now.
But you wish Mara was in the room now, don't you?
Faye's going to have an interesting new piercing by the end of this, and it's probably going to be terminal.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, look, I apologize if I have forgotten or I get mixed up any of the little Discord messages we've been sharing about kind of bits of prep for this session or anything like that. Just fucking remind me and we'll get right to it. It's the usual full on us at work. And then I'm away this weekend. So yeah, I won't be with you for Dark Sun, Dawn. We know that already. But yeah, hopefully get a little bit of rest with the fam as well. My real family, obviously, not my adopted family. And thank you to everyone for all of the subs. How are we on a level 3 hype train already?
I think they're trying to tell us that they want us to fight.
There's a lot of bonus dice getting thrown around. That tends to happen.
Aggression.
Donations tend to happen when stuff is like on the line. So I don't take that as a warning. Why is this at the bottom here? But now at least you've got like 4 bonus dice, and I think Millie, you started on like none. The very top of the show. Yes. So congrats. Pope says it's a warning. Okay, Pope. Okay.
Oh, good.
It's a warning. I mean, look. Luckily, some of the crazy ideas that percolating my head are not about this session, thankfully. So you guys have, full disclosure, have got the opportunity to politic away at camp, preparing for the siege or the assault, whatever you decide it to be, on Summerhall, so that you get a chance to talk out your problems before it all goes to shit. Yeah, that's about it from me. What are the ideas for, Sam? You'll find out. Season 6, the gloves are coming off. And I know, yeah, you say that with some irony because, we've already had some pretty horrific shit happen in this game. But yeah, one fear, just one. Alrighty, let's get cracking then for what is episode 4 of season 6, At the Dragon's Palace. So, Samuel, you have assembled your various forces from the lords that have pledged allegiance under your banner, fighting for House Blackfyre. You have marched the majority of your forces, and theirs, that they've actually pledged and marched out to meet you, towards Summerhall. And so you, for the last around a month, have trudged some of the marshes and the rolling hills of the Stormlands up just past the Cockleswent River towards Summerhall. The summer palace that the Targaryens like to reside in. The palace built around the time of the youth of the current king, Daeron II. Daeron used to summer here and enjoy it while he could in his time. Now he resides much more and doesn't really leave King's Landing. Instead, his fourth son, Prince Maekar Targaryen, known very well to us and House Greenmont, normally resides here with his family, with his sons, and with his household. Upon arriving here, your scouts, having gathered a little bit of information, inform you that my lord Prince Maekar and his knights have marched south towards the Boneway. No doubt having gathered some Stormlander forces on the way there. Or it's not particularly known of Summerhall to be a very powerful force in of themselves.
So I think Samwell wasn't in a great mental space in Hornhill after the wedding. And, he did his best to keep up appearances, but as time went on and he was eager to march, to not waste whatever advantage they might have created for themselves. His mood had darkened more and more, especially at night when he was in drink. But he stops drinking on the road, and when they're marching, his mood starts to change. There's a little bit more of a lightness to him, a little bit more of the youth that I think people around Hornhill think of him in that way, as being young and gregarious. And he spent his time not just meeting with Mara and Faye and the generals and the leaders, but also spending a lot of time with the men, making sure that the war machines that they have brought with them, the numerous war machines, are kept well in repair, and wrestling and jesting and, carousing, although he doesn't drink himself. So his mood's changed, and he's done his best to try to bring up the spirits of these men who are marching in the summer, in the heat, down this road to fight a Targaryen prince, knowing that for some of them, they're already going to be excited by this, but for others, they're going to be afraid. And so I imagine that when he gets this news from the scout, they're getting close to Summerhall at this point. Like, is Summerhall visible?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I want to take us to you effectively camping outside it. Okay. How far or close you want to be there is completely up to you guys.
So here's Samwell's strategy is to divide the forces into two major flanks, each with their own set of war machines, catapults, trebuchets, scorpions, turtles, mantlets. They brought it all. And to basically set the siege engineers and the archers and the war machines just out of range of being able to strike, or being just out of range of any defensive archers being able to shoot at them. So we are as close as we can get without having to fear an immediate assault one way or the other, without us being able to see it coming.
Yeah,
that's where we camp. And then the small folk that he brings with him, which he has horse trainers and stablists and healers in his army, a whole unit of this sort of small folk who are well trained to support the rest of the army. They camp in the back so that they are furthest away from the action.
Yeah. And you've brought House Caswell with you, I believe.
Yeah, no, hold on. I have it right here. I have brought House. I will have brought Caswell, Merryweather, Mollendor, Hightower, Bracken, like I've combined all of the hosts except for the armies that have stayed back, some of the forces that have stayed back to guard their keeps and their villages, and House Karen from the Stormlands, which I've sent to negotiate with House Greenmont.
Yeah.
The rest of them are in this. The rest of them I've tried to rally into this one host.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, because haven't some turned? Let me actually check this out for you. Yeah, Merryweather turned Blackfyre. Mullendor we knew about. Caswell we knew about. House Ambrose, of course, we also knew about.
And there's some, like, I don't know if there's any forces from Ball or Bracken or Lothston or Osgray, but I would have sent the word out to everybody.
Sure, yeah. Yeah, those forces don't join you. Osgray is, if my memory serves me right, because I'm not checking it on the wiki, is actually a banner house of Rowan.
Okay. So even though they were Blackfyre last time, because Rowan is
and we know,
neutral.
Yeah, and we know that Osgray was more or less just destroyed by the Blackfyre rebellion. It's an old man in a tower at the moment, basically. So I mean, House Weber came better out of it, but it's still there is a lady who presides over that. She's married for a third time or whatever it is in the story, or maybe she's currently in her second marriage. And
Weber's mine as well, isn't it?
And Weber is another vassal of yours.
Yeah.
Yes. So there is a small contingent of vassals of yours. Yeah. That are going to be neutral as long as they stay loyal to their liege.
Cool.
You receive word, though, or at least the men receive word, and it's rumor around camp that House Fowler have turned to the Black Dragon, and so House Fowler of Skyreach means that the southern end of the Prince's Pass is effectively under Blackfyre control.
Oh, nice. Let me add them. Are they officially Reach or are they Dornish?
They are Dornish.
I can't remember.
They are a Dornish house.
Cool. All right. That's good. Yeah, so that's kind of how he positions his two camps close enough that, like, you can easily see the campfires burning between the two camps, but basically posed to hit two different corners, two different walls of this castle. Catty corner, not like fully flanked, because the idea, his strategy is not for a long-term siege, but to deal with Summerhall quickly and continue his efforts to try to unite the Reach, so that they can march north, and hopefully most of the war will take place in the Crownlands and not in the Reach. That's his goal.
And if you wanted to assault the castle, you would not be up against as much resistance as if you were to try and assault something like what's that giant castle in the Riverlands? The haunted
Harrenhal?
one, Harrenhal,
yeah,
or even Greenmont, or a typically small castle like that. This is a palace, and it was built to be a summer home. It's not got very high walls. It is defensive in that regard, but it's effectively a hall, and so the defenses aren't as robust as you would expect from a castle or a proper keep, motte and bailey, or with a full wall around it. So its wall in places in some places are raw iron, and fencing. They're not this. This isn't a very defensible place. And so, depending on the forces inside and the commanders inside, you could make light work of this place.
Yeah, I definitely think Samwell would admit to Faye and Mara and his generals, Ambrosa and Caswell, that he's disappointed and torn because Makar's moved his forces south, which is not the direction that Samwell wanted to march after this. But he would have shared with everyone that his hope is to make quick work of the castle's defenses and take all of its wards and any remaining Targaryen family members hostage once they do.
News travels to you, and it doesn't seem that this is a note that is actually written by anybody. Like it's not like on a raven or anything like that. Say in one of your war councils with your lady wife and Lady Faye present, a message comes to you and is passed to you. The messenger, one of the soldiers, quickly passing it to you, giving you a short bow and walking out. If you read it, inside there is a short note to say that House Greenmont issued an attack at night on House Karen, the besieging forces there, and House Karen issued a counterattack. But that's all the information you have on the note. It's a brief one.
Who wrote the note? Did anybody sign it?
This seems to be messages that have been passed on. There's no signature. There is no one, heralding themselves in the note. You don't have the author of the information at hand.
And this note came by Raven or by horse?
By a rider. It's
okay.
This would have been a report. This would have been a quick report by a rider.
Okay.
The very nature of it being passed to you rather than the actual rider getting here
suggests that it was Karen, right?
You could suggest it was Karen originally, but then maybe intercepted or something like that. So this is maybe not the original messenger. This is maybe someone else having to scribe what they said or saw and get to you. So this is a somewhat incomplete kind of report.
Okay.
But it describes it says that there was an attack on House Karen by House Greenmont, and that House Karen issued a counterattack. It also mentions they came up against resistance from House Ironwood.
That House Karen did, or that House Greenmont did? That
House Karen did.
What? Okay, so Samuel reads this letter, and his positive, energetic disposition drops a little bit, and he claps his hands and he gestures for the writer to come back. And he turns and he sets the letter down on the table so that everyone else can see it. And then he says, "It seems that House Greenmont attempted to break our siege rather than negotiate, and there has been at least some sort of battle. I wish I knew what the results were, but I assume that House Karen is holding its own at the very least. It is a much stronger house, and they at least were able to send a writer."
Faye looks absolutely furious, and you can see her hand just like clenching in a fist next to her. But she's not going to say a word.
I think Mara's probably watching Samuel and then reaches, as soon as he's finished talking, reaches for the note to read it herself, looking nervous, and kind of takes a moment to read it over and places it back down and just kind of sits waiting for somebody else to say something, kind of playing with her fingers.
The silence is broken by the rider coming back in. He seems to be a soldier, perhaps a hedge knight, who doesn't wear any kind of signifying clothing or heraldry or anything like that. But he bows and he says, "My lord."
"My good sir, where did you ride from? And please share with us, what did you see along the road?"
I rode from Ashford, and it was a House Karen messenger for you, my lord. He was injured, however. He didn't tell me how, but his wound did not seem that old. I mean, if he'd ridden through nights and pushed himself and his horse, maybe. it would have been fresh from battle, but the Red Mountains are not so close to Ashford. He would have had to have travelled on horseback at least a few days, and so he maybe had some struggle. Came across a Targaryen sympathizer who didn't like what he was doing. There are taverns that way. Perhaps he was seeking shelter.
Tell me, he said nothing of the battle? He did not speak of what's in this letter?
He gave me his last words, my lord.
And, sir, what house do you serve?
I serve the Black Dragon, my lord.
And are you sworn to a vassal house?
He looks around nervously, and then he just shakes his head.
You are a hedge knight, correct?
Sir.
I would take you into the service of House Tarly as a hedge knight. You would be paid well, treated well, and serve the strongest house in the Reach. You would receive the best training that I could muster, and you would be amongst good men and women.
Thank you, my lord.
But first, I would ask you to ride for me and deliver another letter. Are you willing to do this?
Very well, my lord.
Very good. I'll ride to Fox Hollow, deliver this letter to Lord Karen, and if he is not there, to House Ironwood, and if they are not there, to the gates of Fox Hollow itself. This letter is meant to make its way to Lady Marcia Greenmont.
He takes in what you're saying and nods and seems to understand exactly who that is and what he needs to do.
Can I make and just because I don't trust nobody, can I make an empathy check just to see if, like, is there a chance this guy's a spy or is going to betray me?
Absolutely.
Did he kill the House Karen soldier and is here trying to get a sense for what's going on in my party?
Roll me a empathy check under awareness.
I know we got some dice. I can't see the window.
Oh.
What do I have right now?
You have 3 bonus dice to play with.
Okay. I'll use a bonus dice because I'm not very empathetic.
John, I'm
But
very trustworthy
focused.
NPC. I don't know what you mean.
I'm very focused. He's very focused right now before he writes and delivers this. He's sizing this guy up, how he responds to his offer. Because to offer a hedge knight service to a larger house like House Tarly, it's actually like a pretty generous offer.
Pretty big. Yeah, pretty big.
Okay. Ooh, a 10.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You get a pretty good read on the guy, and he's definitely holding something back. That was a very Diana Troy answer. But
You're watching Star Trek.
He is definitely holding something back. But you do not get the feeling of any kind of danger from him. Or he was very affirmative in saying that he served the Black Dragon. His disposition towards you is currently indifferent.
Okay. Samuel looks to Faye and gives her a small smile and says, "My lady, I think our friend here from the road is anxious. Perhaps you might speak with him, reassure him."
What reassurance could I possibly give him?
that we are going to win this war and that we are going to keep the Reach safe, its families and houses safe. But soon, this conflict will be in the north and not here.
You would have me predict the future.
I would
can't
ask you...
predict what you're going to do from one moment to the other, Samuel. Certainly not enough to lie to a complete stranger.
Looks awkwardly back to this knight, this hedge knight, who's obviously overheard this.
Awkwardly back to you.
Well, on second thought, my friend, why don't you stay here and join our camp? Find the host, ask for proper outfitting, a tent, drink. We will reconvene at a later time on the matter of this letter.
Very well, my lord.
Thank you. That'll be all.
And as he leaves, he kind of gives Faye a sideways glance, as if just running over the exchange the two of you had again.
He rolls up the letter that was delivered and slides it back across the table to closer to where Mara's sitting. And he sits down and opens himself up to Faye and Mara, the two generals, and he says, I'm open to your recommendations on how we should proceed, but I am of the mind that we should write to Lady Marcia. I would tell her that I have in our possession her young son and would wish to return him to her, the very son that the Targaryens stole from her.
I'm not sure that's going to matter.
It might not, but I would return the child all the same.
It's my brother that we're talking about.
I know.
You want me to hand him back to the woman who tried to kill me, who murdered my own child, and who currently sits at Greenmont as a figurehead of House Targaryen in their favor.
Clasps his hands over the table and leans forward and absorbs that and says, I can understand how painful this is, and I do not trust Lady Marcia not to make rash decisions that are in the best interests of others. But
you would hand her back a child. She launched an attack on an army that was sat there not to be an aggressor, but to negotiate. She launched an attack.
Not to be an aggressor. Are you simple? Marching onto somebody else's lands is an act of aggression.
We're on opposite sides of a war, Faye. Her not bending the knee is an act of aggression.
Marching House Karen. Marching House Karen to Fox Hollow was a defensive action to protect Hornhill while the host is away.
In whose eyes?
In ours.
It may work on a table, Samuel. It does not work in people's minds. If you had bothered to seek my counsel about this, I would have cautioned you against it.
Well, I'm sorry, Faye, but you were busy speaking with others.
On your behalf.
Which I appreciate.
We can't change what's already happened. The army is there, they've been attacked, they launched a counterattack. We're fighting with House Greenmont now. And Marcia's not going to back down. I know that woman. I called her mother at one point. She isn't going to back down. We don't have a choice. We have to take Greenmont. It's a key passage through Dawn. Maekar has his claws in there.
I agree. Greenmont cannot fall to the Targaryens or become a rallying point for the Targaryens. It's far too close to Hornhill. So, I am open. What other recommendations do we have other than killing good men?
I have no recommendations for you further, my lord, until we have discussed the matter that you have been putting off since my surrender. And she'll sit back and just cross her hands in her lap. She's done.
My recommendation? The men at Greenmont were Blackfyre men once. They fought for my father, for the Black Dragon. Cut Marcia out of the equation. She's going to keep sending them to fight in a war they're not going to win. There is no way that Greenmont has the forces to take on House Karen, and she sent men to their deaths anyway. Get to the men. Remind them who their lord was and who he fought for and what the Targaryens took from Greenmont. They took my sister. They took my brother. They're responsible for the death of 2 of my brothers. And the war injury that killed my father was from fighting against them. Get to the men. Get them to turn. If Marcia doesn't have an army to command, she doesn't have a castle.
Not sure how we can do that from all the way over here. How do we convince them? You know your house better than I ever could.
You'd have to get a message into the men, into the garrisons that bypasses Marcia, that bypasses anyone who would take that to her. There have to be Blackfyre sympathizers. You can't tell me that an entire house that fought for the Black Dragon, every man in its army, suddenly supports Maekar? Supports the Targaryens? Dissent. However that's caused.
My reputation and my... it's not what it used to be. They need someone else, someone they can believe in, to tell them this, to convince them.
Where do you plan to march after Summerhall?
Oh, I don't plan to wait. I plan to strike at first dawn.
Then from here we march to Greenmont, and we take the castle by whatever means, as peacefully as you can with an army.
Perhaps then her son can be a ward and a condition of her surrender. And if not her surrender, hope for a future of the house, for her men.
Marcia only really sits as regent at Fox Hollow. It's my little brother who is technically the lord. And I'm sure there is some politics that can be played there.
There are 2 of them, twins, yes. They were born on the same night.
They were.
And which one was born first?
Mara would know this, but Virginia can't remember.
It's Bryn. It's the boy
Bryn.
at Fox
Yeah.
Hollow. Yes, Maekar took Wieland, the second-born child.
Okay. I remember which of my brothers are which. Bryn was born first. He is the eldest. He is the lord at Greenmont. Marcia only sits as regent to oversee him because he is still a child. But he is still the lord.
And perhaps we lay dispute to that claim.
We could.
I wish they had just surrendered. Very well. That's what we'll do then.
When we march to Greenmont, if we can find a way to talk to the men, if you can give me an audience of them, perhaps I can remind them what my father fought for, which is not where Marcy is leading them.
Perhaps, yes. I believe that you could sway at least some of them. Very well. I don't wish to dwell on this too long. We will have to make our way to Greenmont, to Fox Hollow, once we are finished here. It is not ideal, but I would rather make sure that the Reach is united before we push north.
So
Are
Samuel,
there any other matters?
if I may,
yes.
and Lord Caswell speaks up. If her second-born son is here at Summerhall, then we already have a ward by the time we get there. We don't need to march to Fox Hollow if we have her son. We can still continue north. Then we send word to her. If she doesn't want anything done to the boy, then she can surrender.
I'm not even going to entertain the idea that we even threaten to harm my little brother.
My lady, no
Kamara
harm
just
has
shoots him
to.
up.
Yeah, he says, my lady, no harm has to come to the child. But the power of a wardship is strong.
I'm not making empty threats to Marcia. She doesn't make empty threats.
No, and we are all aware that neither do you.
Perhaps this is a blessing in disguise. If we do march to Fox Hollow, we can be in position to protect Old Town or Horn Hill if there's been some sort of rally from Highgarden, and then we can make our way north to Highgarden to ensure that the last of the Reach is ours before we take the road.
It feels counterproductive, my lord, marching back from the way where we came. We have momentum now. We take Summerhall quickly on the morrow, and then we can march north. Perhaps taking further houses with us.
Greenmont is key in the pass between here and Dawn. It will become a rallying point for the Targaryens unless we take the castle. Marcia is not going to surrender. And to be honest, if she does, I would be suspicious of it.
Maybe those border houses will become more inconsequential at the moment. The war is being fought, in Dawn? Eastern Dawn, in particular, if if the Dornish houses loyal to the Black Dragon are marching that way and are rallying their own side, then they're marching on Sunspear. We must concentrate on the Reach.
It sends a message. Greenmont isn't just a house that's loyal to the Targaryens. It was a Blackfyre house that has turned loyal to the Targaryens, and it is a place that Maekar has frequented. This isn't some house halfway across the other side of the Reach that pledges an allegiance. This is a house that has prominently over the last few years supported the Targaryens. Maekar wards my brother. Marcia has his ear. It sends a message. If the house that Maekar favors on this end of the Reach isn't safe from the Black Dragon and can be taken by force, every other house in the Reach that doesn't bend the knee can be taken by force. And then we compound that from moving from Greenmont over to Highgarden and take that too.
If we knew what the outcome of the counterattack from House Karen was, then we'd be in a better position to choose. If it were up to me, my lady, my lord, I would go myself with a small contingent of knights from this army to Fox Hollow. We probably don't need to reinforce House Karen that much.
A small party that rides ahead, it would let us know what to expect when we arrive.
And the rest of the army maintains here and takes Summerhall and heads north after that. We do not come back. I do not believe you need to reinforce the house.
Then this is what I have decided. Lord Caswell, you will take a small contingency of knights to head to Fox Hollow, reinforce House Karen, find out what has happened there, and deliver the message that Lady Marcia's son is in our possession, and we wish to ransom him back to her in exchange for her loyalty in bending the knee to Blackfyre. Then you will march north with the rallied forces, Ironwood, Fox Hollow, Karen, your own forces, gathering reinforcements from Old Town and moving in towards Highgarden. We will march from here to Highgarden from the other side and ensure that Highgarden finally bends the knee.
I would want to go after the assault on Summerhall so that I know I am not... that there is no doubt in what I say.
Very well. We will take Summerhall tomorrow. You will not have to wait long.
And if Marcia doesn't surrender, if we have to take the castle by force, who do we install there in her place? In fact, who do we install in her place either way? If she surrenders, I wouldn't trust it.
Her son?
Her sons will one day rule the house, and in the meantime...
They're children.
They won't always be.
No,
we
but
will
they are
care.
now.
For the meantime, for the current time, Fox Hollow will be under the wardship of whomever Lord Caswell deems appropriate at the time based on the situation. I trust you, Lord Caswell, until the war is over.
Thank you, my lord.
Well, this was cheery. Are there any other matters we should attend to this evening before the battle tomorrow?
I have none.
I believe the Lady Faye wanted a conversation with you, so I'm happy to take my leave.
Thank you, Mara. I'm sorry about Fox Hollow and the news.
As soon as we find out word of what's happened, I care more about my other brother that is there.
We will make sure that anyone who goes into Fox Hollow knows that your brother is not to be harmed. And whatever bloodshed we can avoid spilling, we will.
And I think Mara, at that point, if this is very clearly the end of the meeting, will probably be the first to stand to make her way out. She wants to go and find out if any letters may have arrived for her from somebody she really doesn't want to get a letter from, but and she knows that Faye wants to speak to Samwell, and she promised Faye that she would let them have that conversation alone. So she is the first to get up and probably picks up the wine goblet that's on the table that she hasn't touched this entire time and just walks out with it.
And Lord Caswell picks up a chicken thigh and a healthy serving of wine and heads out the tent as well and off towards where the Caswells are camped. And the two of you are left alone.
I think you would see immediately Samwell's disposition as he watches the other leave. Like, he sinks back and he relaxes his back into his chair and he sighs. His face goes a little slack and he just kind of mumbles, "I really picked the wrong week to quit drinking." I'm sorry, Faye, I've upset you. And you're right that I owe you a conversation.
Upset me. Upset me. Samuel, this conversation is likely to get rather loud. So would you like to have it here where all your little friends can hear? Or would you like to go somewhere more private? The choice is yours.
I could do for a walk.
As you wish.
Stands up, pulls a knife that's sticking out of the table, and grabs an apple, and then a second apple from a little bushel of apples that he's been picking as they've been going along the roads. And he offers, as he starts to pull out of the tent, duck underneath the flaps, an apple to Faye. Probably red.
She'd take it, but she's not going to eat it. I think on her way out, she's going to grab a wineskin and 2 goblets. She does not give a shit what his decision about drinking is. She's going to need it.
And Samuel would lead Faye somewhere outside, right? It's summer, it's probably evening, so like it's probably rather nice.
I'd imagine it like a hill overlooking the camp where you can see everything.
You can see the camp over here, and you can see the palace down here. It's probably a really beautiful vista, and enough removed that nobody's gonna overhear them that we couldn't see approaching us.
I think to anybody watching, it would look like a civil lord and lady taking a walk because it's utterly silent. Well, certainly from Faye's point of view, anyway.
He's just slowly shaving the apple, not hurried at all, like one little piece of the skin at a time along the way, twisting it all around so it doesn't break. He's quite good at it. And then the last slice, the entire skin falls away, except for the core, and he takes a bite as they approach the top of the hill, looks out over the palace.
She'll take a look at it and place the wineskin and the goblets down on the ground and just take a deep breath, just look out at it, and then just smack him in the chest. He's a lot taller than her, but so it's pointless.
It probably surprises him a little bit, and he just kind of looks confounded down at you, and then his eyes soften again. And he doesn't look away from you. He says, "All right, so that's how this conversation is going to be."
You besieged Fox Hollow. She hit him again.
All right, yes, you're correct. That is what I did. But, Faye, we don't have the luxury of inaction. Fox Hollow is less than several days' ride from Horn Hill.
Yes, and in the past that house has wavered several times, and they could have been persuaded to waver again, but not now. Now people will die. Because of what you've chosen, Samuel.
I attempted to offer many times my hand in friendship to Marcia Greenmont.
Oh, please.
You
put her on trial.
You don't know what happened at that tournament, Faye.
I don't care what happened at that tournament. Nobody in the Reach cares what happened in that tournament, Samuel.
My house does, and so do I.
You look vindictive.
I'm not.
It looks as if you were trying to take out a woman you could not beat under the gods' eyes in a just trial.
I'm not.
If I had been in that meeting, I would have cautioned you otherwise. If rumors are to be believed, Lady Marcia is not a woman to give up her beliefs and her fury easily.
I wish you'd been in the meeting, Faye. And I wish I felt like you were as dedicated to making this all work as I want you to be.
How can I be dedicated to something that you haven't even discussed with me? You take me hostage. You make promises, and then this. You know what war means to me, Samuel. You know what being a hostage means to me. You know how my father and my brothers died.
You don't own grief, Faye. You're not the only one who lost family in the war. My entire family is gone. My father is dying, and he is the last, and I am the last. And I have to make decisions, fast decisions, because the Blackfyres and the Targaryens are not going to wait for you, and they're not going to wait for me. We have to act, and we have to be together.
Nobody needs to wait for you. You run 10 paces ahead of everybody else.
Well, hopefully that will help the Reach survive this.
Parts. Do you think I enjoy hearing what people say about you? I want to defend my friend, but you make it very difficult.
He looks out back to the palace, and he gestures towards it with a half-eaten apple and kind of twirls it in his hand, and then gestures down to the camp, burning fires, and he says, Faye, before I knew you, since I was a little boy, I've known what people said about me. There was a farmer angry with my father for some issue about land who came into our home in the night. I don't know how he got past the guards, but I saw him creeping into my father's room. I was just a boy. And I cried out for help. No help came. I saw the blade in his hand. And then the next thing I knew, I was over top of this man. His head cracked open like a melon. They called me the little Tarly Butcher. And I felt so guilty for protecting my father. And I've been involved and done things that were wrong that I thought were right at the time. And I know what people say about me. I broke guest right twice. I took the lords of this land, their families hostage. I turned against the Targaryens. All of it, because I know in my heart that if I hadn't done that, if I'd sided with the Targaryens, or if I had just not acted at all, that the Reach would burn. And I know what people say about me. And when this war is over, I know that I will have to be held accountable for my choices and my actions. I want to be held accountable. But who else, Faye? Who else would you rather see navigate this situation, this war? The old bitter lords, the racist ones, the ones that wouldn't listen to you or care about the small folk?
You haven't changed that.
I've gotten bigger.
Yes. I still remember that sweet boy I grew up with, so full of good intentions, so misunderstood. You can still see him in your eyes. I want to believe you, but you keep leaving me no choice. The side you back will most likely always be the side that wins. Have you any concept how lucky you are in that? Now you're dragging me into the front lines of a war I have fought my whole life to avoid. Your choices dictate the course of my life as ever, and I must just watch as you drift me where you will.
You're my friend, Faye, my old, dear friend. And if you want something different for yourself, I can't make any promises, but I will listen.
Well, I would appreciate not being a go-between in your marriage. First off.
A go-between?
talk to your wife, please? She has some issue with Costain. Didn't feel like she could talk to you openly about it for some reason. I've never been married, Samuel, but that, to me, indicates a significant lack of trust between man and wife, and I'd rather not get involved with it. I have my own reasons for agreeing with her, but that's beside the point.
I will speak with her. I believe both of you to be very wise in a number of ways that I'm not.
So if I'm to be here, I might as well be of some use, but you can't cut me out of decisions that affect all of this. I know you thrive on might, but my power is in my mind, and if I don't have all the facts, I can't advise you.
I'm sorry. I didn't. I'm not always the greatest, the sharpest at thinking about things like that, Faye. I will strive better to keep you informed. But if I do, then I need to know that when I ask for your help, you're not going to shun me in front of a hedge knight. You're not going to cause rumors that there's unrest here. That you're not going to, when I ask for your advice, refuse to give it.
You want me to lie for you?
I want you to help me present a strong front that people can believe in. Because if people do not believe in us, we will fail.
Samuel, I have reached the position I am in currently due to my inability and refusal to speak easy lies to power. I will not change my course now. And you should observe the strength in that and see it as value, not detriment.
I wouldn't ask you to speak lies to power. I would only ask that...
I lie to small folk.
You consider the audience when you voice opposition, and you may voice your opposition as strongly as you wish to me, Faye. I will not take it personally. I will strive not to be defensive towards it.
I will not lie for you, Samuel. I will advise you, but perhaps you should be careful in front of whom you ask me questions. I can merely promise I will attempt to hold my tongue and not speak out of turn.
I think that's fair. I accept.
She'll look at him and look at the wineskin and look back at him. My father always said, never strike a deal with a man that you wouldn't get drunk with. So you'll recognize this game from our festivals. And she fills up a glass on each side and hands him one. A game of truths. I make a statement about you. If I'm correct, you drink. If I'm wrong, I drink. What better way to build up trust?
I'm not drinking tonight, Faye, but I will play. Does that make you trust me less?
Yes.
He considers it, because it is like Samuel's ritual to stop drinking several days before a battle.
When she says yes, there's like a little tweak of a smile in her cheeks, just like, told you I wasn't gonna lie.
He resigns himself and he chews the last bite of the apple and he tosses the core so it starts rolling down the hill in the direction of camp. And he says, well, can we at least sit down while we play?
As you wish. And she'll settle down and kind of plump her skirts out around her. And it's suddenly reminiscent of that night at her father's funeral when they snuck away from everybody and hid out in the gardens drinking cider. That last night of childhood together. Would you care to go first?
So I say something I believe is true of you. And then you drink if I was right.
Correct.
Interesting. Yes, all right, I'll go first. Truth. I have never been in love. Well, you have never been in love.
She'll hold his gaze and take a long sip.
He just smiles a little bit, nods, and looks back out towards the palace.
You were responsible for your father's unfortunately timed illness.
He turns towards her and you see his eyes wide and turn a little bit red. His face is like, it looks like you just hit him. Of course, I did not do that. I love my father, Faye.
Just trying to make sure. And she'll take another sip.
He looks back down to his wine glass, not looking back to her. And he's still got that look of like surprised betrayal that you would ask him that question. And he asks or says, truth. You would see House Targaryen win this war and House Blackfyre fall.
Are you trying to get me drunk, Sir Tarly? I've made no secret of my personal opinions. She'll take another sip.
That is the game, is it not?
Oh. You were bedding the Lady Mara before our engagement was called off.
And he looks out to the palace and just takes a sip. I don't know if that's canonically correct or not, but it just seems juicier. Okay. I forgot.
No, it is.
Oh, you banged both of them, mate.
Millie and I worked this out. Samuel was still engaged to Faye when he slept with Mara and Alice.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
Your turn.
You were relieved when your house called off our wedding.
Drink.
And continues to stare out to the palace, and he takes a sip.
You never loved me.
Drink.
She'll pause for a second and take that in and take a sip.
If the world were different, and you didn't have the responsibilities or the ties that you have, you would sail away, if you could, with a famous pirate.
I can't drink to that one. Enzo Sal is dead. Thanks to you.
He brings his glass up to take a sip, but swallows hard before he gets to drink, and he looks to her. He says, his body was not in the castle. My guards were ordered to not harm Enzo.
And where do you think he fled to? Where do you think he has any friends left?
You believe he's at Fox Hollow?
Where else would he go?
It makes sense, Faye. And I don't want to bring death to the people in Fox Hollow. But I can't ignore them in this war.
She slams her glass down on the floor. You know what happened to a knight who was found scouting your camp around the time of the tourney? Older gentleman, salt and pepper hair, probably quite grumpy.
He looks you in the eyes, chews his jaw, and takes a sip. I do.
Tell me.
Very well. At the tournament, I was fresh off the fields, victorious. First time in my life. I had won something. And then I saw Mara, her face as it is now, for the first time. And I heard her story. My father and his host, with the Oakharts and others, they had come to the tournament not to watch me, not to support me, but because they were planning to start a series of raids in Dorne, rummaging through villages, stealing, burning, stoking old blood feuds. But my father helped Mara when she was hurt. And she wasn't safe at Fox Hollow. Whether or not Marcia tried to kill her herself, what cannot be denied is that when Mara was dying in the Godswood of her familial home, Marcia just walked away and left her to die. That is the truth. And so I left the tournament with Mara to keep her safe. And I learned of my father's plans as we marched into the Dornish mountains. Mara and I tried to convince my father and Lord Oakhart that these raids serve no purpose. It would just be returned with more skirmishes in kind, that men would die for nothing, that good men in Dorne, Dornish people, their families would die for nothing. But our pleas were not met easily. And then when we got to the mountains, Mara and I tried something else. We convinced my father that the more important thing would be for us to take our host back to Fox Hollow and demand Lord Tyrell hold Lady Marcia accountable with a trial.
I'm sorry, Samuel, did I give the impression I gave two shits about a history lesson?
I explained all of this and more to your friend, to the knight, when he snuck into our camp, tried to sneak out, and was captured. I told him what we were doing, and I told him that we had stopped the raids, that we had kept any men from dying, that we were returning to the Reach. And I asked him if I let him go, would he remain quiet and help me keep the peace? And he refused. He said he would share what I had told him and what he'd seen. And I knew that that would cause more skirmishes with Dorne, more people dying that didn't need to die. And I told him so, and still he refused. And so I had my men slit his throat, and I left his body in the mountains for the vultures. And that is the truth.
That man had been my sole protector since my father died. And you are a military man, Samuel. You know the difference between a spy and a scout. Why was he not ransomed back?
There was an incident at the tournament with Prince Maekar, and it is my belief, was my belief, that he was looking for any reason to bring his iron grip around my house. It didn't matter if he was a spy or a scout. I could not allow him to. I did it for peace. I know it might not seem like that, but I did it for peace.
Well, you were wrong, Samuel. You go strong again. I'm running out of men to mourn while drinking cider with you.
I meant it what I said before, Faye. When this war is over, I want to be held accountable for my actions.
With the largest army in the Reach, you will be held accountable for nothing. I'm quite sure of it. And she'll look down at the goblet and just hurl it off the hill.
And then
one move, just grab for the peeling knife and put it to her own throat. Did you watch it? Did you watch it happen,
Faye,
or did you walk away?
Faye.
Tell me.
I will tell you, but you have to take that knife away from your throat.
You
and
do
give
it
it
then.
to me.
And she'll push the knife into his hand and pull it like up to her neck. You've taken everything else, take that as well.
You aren't without anything, Faye. Both of us will rise from this, you especially. No one will hold you guilty for anything that happens in this war. You will have Golden Grove to go back to. We will find Enzo. There will be others who would protect you. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I'm not the kind of person that I make. I'm sorry that I find it so difficult to think of one person and not my house or the Reach. But you will be all right, Faye. I promise you that.
You bargaining with chips you don't possess. Just
I didn't watch. I couldn't.
and she'll just start pounding on his chest, just hitting him over and over and over and crying.
He doesn't resist at all. He folds the knife back up towards the length of his forearm, so it's not pointing towards Faye, and it's protected against her. She couldn't make an easy grab for it. And he'll let her strike him as much as she needs to. He won't pull away.
That goes on for a long time, and I think the end, she's just looking up in his eyes, her whole body's shaking. And she'll lean up and try and kiss him.
He wasn't expecting that. I think for a moment, like he stays, like he doesn't pull away for a moment. But then like as his brain starts to catch up to his reality, he grabs her by the shoulder, not hard, just hard enough to kind of pull back a little bit and say, "It will be all right."
Sorry.
Don't be.
I lied. I have been in love. And she'll push him away and walk back towards camp.
He tries to stand up, like he tries to push up off the hill to go after her, but he finds that he's a little weaker in the legs and his back in this moment than he expected, and he kind of falls back down. And he just kind of watches, just in shock, as she storms back towards the camp. He stays up on top of the hill.
Mara, you are stood on the edge of camp, waiting for word that never comes. And then, as the night begins to draw in, a rider does arrive. And as Samwell is indisposed, you're identified as the person to speak to, the, kind of ruling voice right now. The rider is wearing red and black. Or is it black and red? You can't tell. But he announces to you, "My Lady Tarly, I come at His Grace Prince Daeron's request from Summerhall to parley with your camp. Send your representatives, your riders, to the gates of Summerhall. You will not be harmed."
I think she takes a moment standing there, probably, with guards. I imagine that she's very similar to Samwell in that when she's not doing something, she's probably talking with the men and about the camp, being a face, like she was back when the camp was originally moving to Dawn, like way back. And this is probably the first time that she has ever personally had to receive a herald for something like this. And so it takes her a minute as she's looking at this man and looking over the colors that he's wearing for her mind to catch up to what she's just heard. When?
At your earliest convenience.
You can tell your prince that we accept the offer of parley.
He bows, and he leaves to get back on his horse. Heads back down the hill towards Summerhall.
And I think she stands there for a moment and she looks probably to her guards, who she probably knows fairly well at this point. Somewhere I named them, but I can't remember what that is right now. And just like takes in their faces, what their reaction to this is. And then knows that she needs to go and find Samuel.
Mm-hmm. And how does she find you?
And I think Samuel, so like it was probably like late afternoon or like sunset closing in, but now it's probably twilight. And he's still on top of that hill, half a glass of wine. He hasn't taken another sip since the game ended, just resting next to him. He's staring down, like, elbow crooked up on one knee, looking just kind of thoughtfully at the lights of Summerhall Palace down below.
And I think Mara probably leaves her guards at the bottom of the hill. She doesn't need them to come up. They're well enough out of earshot that they're not really anywhere near the two of them. And she goes up and sees Samuel sitting there. And now that there's no one else around, any of the kind of courtly lady presence that she has drops, and she sits herself down on the grass next to him and kind of leans up against him. A rider came.
He leans back, kind of lays his head down on top of her head and says, "Oh, from
Summerhall. They want to parley."
I'm sure they do.
We have to, Samuel. We have to do this right. There's no way that they're going to withstand the attack no matter what we do, but we should send a representative, a rider, to the gates, do it properly, hear what they have to say, and then we can walk away. But at least we did it properly.
Have I made only wrong decisions, Mara?
And at that, she kind of sits up and kind of shuffles to turn to him a bit more. So she's kind of facing him and looks at him. And she takes his hands in hers and kind of puts them in her lap as she closes her hands over them. I think we've both made a lot of bad decisions for a lot of good reasons. It's war, Sam. There is no right decision when people die. I still ask myself the same thing about Ellery. I executed a traitor to the king that we think should be on the throne. Do I think I'm guilty of a crime? No. But did I hurt my sister? When she finds out, probably. Was it a good thing? Of course not, a man died, but this is where we are now, and the decisions that we've made, we've already made.
I don't care one bit which purple-eyed monster sits on the Iron Throne. Not one bit.
You care about the same thing that I do, and that's keeping the people you love safe.
I think, Mara, there's a very good chance that whether it's during this war or after this war, that I will be gone. My father isn't long for this world, I don't think. And House Tarly will be you. Just you.
Where are you planning on going?
I don't plan on going anywhere. I plan to fight.
Well, do me a favor and plan not to die while you're doing it.
He looks back to Summer Hall down below, its beauty and its lights. He says, I don't plan to die. But if something happens to me, Mara, then I want to know that you're safe and that my family's line will continue.
You can't ever know that I'm gonna be safe, Samuel. I don't even know if I'm safe. I walk around with guards all day because I'm afraid. Because Marcia made me afraid and Alistair made me afraid. We're at war. I could just as easily become another body added to the pile of bodies that will be there by the end of this. But when this is done, of course I will look after your house, your legacy, however I can.
I know. This parlay, it could be a trap.
It could
be a trick. That's what I would do if I were in their situation.
What's killing a couple of representatives? What bonus is that going to give them? I said at our earliest convenience, send a rider in a few hours. Just a rider. We don't even have to go. Just a rider to hear their terms and bring them back.
I find it more and more difficult the further this goes to never mind.
To make the right choice. To see the right choice. Good. Because the people that always think they're making the right choice all of the time are not the people you want making choices. Look at Marcia. She thinks she's right every time. She can't unsee it. And now her house is under siege. From an attack she started.
No. It's not just her. I did send those men.
What else could you have done? You did what anyone else would have done. It's what your father would have done. It's what my father would have done. It's what I would have done if I had control of our armies.
What do you think of Lord Costain?
I don't think he can be trusted. I don't think he should be in power at Old Town, but he made the declaration on the battlements, and I wasn't going to say in front of everybody that I thought you were wrong.
You know that I value your opinion more than anyone else's in this realm.
I know.
And you can always tell me how you feel about the choices I'm making.
I feel like Mara's smart enough to connect the dots that maybe Faye has said something. And she takes a minute. Faye told you that I came to her to talk about Costain.
She did, yes.
I didn't want to say anything until I could prove to you that he couldn't be trusted. Not because I don't trust you, but because I don't want to embarrass you in front of men down there that you have to keep up appearances with. Costain can't be trusted. He's the reason Alistair did everything he did in the first place. He told Alistair about Oliver. And I don't know if he knew that Alistair would take it as far as he did, but he was the starting point. When all the tax business was going on, he was the starting point. I was in the room with Lord John when he told us. Costain is a very human man, and I like him very much for that. He's very charming. But the second that he stops wanting to give you information, he is not your friend, and he never was. He is an Old Town not because he cares about this cause or cares about gaining favor with you or anybody else. He's an Old Town because it suits him to be. And if it were up to me, I wouldn't have him anywhere near this. But he is there now.
Thank you.
I'm sorry I didn't tell you.
And he looks away again, back down towards the palace. It's fine. I understand.
No, it's not. I'm sorry.
Oh. It's all right.
And I think it's at this point, she looks to where he's looking now and spots the wine goblet. You've been drinking?
Not much, just a little. Faye was insistent.
I was going to say, what did she talk to you about that drove you to drink after you stopped?
I told her about her family's night, the one that came up to us in the Red Mountains when we were camped with the host.
I remember. What about him? She looks confused because she knew the night was there, but Mara never actually knew what happened to him.
I couldn't convince him to keep that we had illegally entered Dorne, our host, quiet. I tried, but he was an honorable man, an honest man, and I had him killed and left there in the mountains.
I take it she didn't take that well.
I think, all things considered, she took it better than I might have expected.
Why didn't you tell me?
I don't know. I feel a pressure sometimes, Mara, in the back of my head. It's me, but it's not me. It pushes me to act in moments that I feel like decisions must be made that no one else will make. And more often than not, it's succeeded by guilt. I find it difficult to talk about these things. I find it difficult to reconcile with the choices I've made. But I can't stop making them.
No, you can't. We're in the middle of a war now. So you had a man killed because you thought it was the right thing to do. To protect your house, your men.
I know the reasons. But that is why we were drinking, I suppose.
I don't know what to tell you, Sam. I asked myself the same questions about Ellery, and I've never killed a man before. They don't teach ladies what to do when you kill a man or how that's supposed to feel. They don't glorify it to us. So I guess we just have to keep making decisions with what we know at the time with the best intentions in mind and hope at the end of it, it all pays off, that it all works out the way that we hope it does, or as close to it as possible. But you can't live in the past, Samuel. There's a lot of things both of us could have done differently for a very long time, and we didn't. And now we're here.
A soldier comes up to you and bids you, my lord. Points over to the towards the main gates of Summerhall, and there, bathed in light, is a small flank of guards and a couple of men on horseback.
Are they riding up towards camp?
No, they're staying where they are.
I don't suppose. He squints down. Are there any Lord's banners there?
It's the 4 red dragons of Summerhall, my lord.
It'll be the prince. It was the prince who wanted to parley.
And you can see he's torn as he's staring down at that regiment. And he stands up, picks up the wine glass. He drinks the rest of the glass in one gulp.
Mara will stand with him.
Looks to Mara and he says, if the prince has come to parley, then we have 2 choices to make right now. 1, you and I go with a regiment of knights to meet him and speak to him, lord to lord, at his gates. Or 2, we do not wait until dawn. We strike now.
Is there anything that he can say that will change either of our minds? Your mind, this is your army, that will change your mind about burning that place to the ground?
I have heard Targaryens speak. People, even lords like us, are but cattle to them. I could sit on that scorpion in the dark right now, and we could be one less prince.
Then we make this decision together, regardless of whether it ends up being a bad one or a good one. But if there is nothing that he can say, nothing that will turn us around, make us surrender, send a rider and tell him that whatever his terms are, we do not accept them. And then we don't wait.
Do we send the rider, or do we just act?
Send the rider. And no one can say that we use the parley as an excuse to attack. And I think she just looks at the soldier and instructs that somebody writes a letter.
You can see like Samuel's fists are clenching and unclenching, clenching and unclenching. And then he kind of intertwines his fingers and wraps his hands together and rubs his knuckles. And he says, yes, send a rider. Hear their terms. We will not meet them in person.
He bows and he dons the Tali colours proper with a sash as well. It's kind of a formality when it comes to parlaying, and goes off to write and receive the note.
And I think Mara will take Samuel's hands as he's playing with his knuckles, and she'll look him dead in the eyes for a moment. There is no going back. and she'll lean up and put her arms around him and give him a kiss, because she knows that if this fight starts tonight, then he's going to be putting on armor very, very soon and leading out with people.
I would warn you mechanically now. Trying to gather your men now, get your siege equipment up and running would be difficult. I think they would begin the battle disorganized.
And he's just been talked into not doing this. He's going to hear the terms, but not go himself. And his plan is still to attack come dawn.
Okay.
But it took Mara like talking him out of it for him not to just try to attack. So he returns the kiss and he breaks it off just enough. And he says, I'm sure we have some time before that rider returns and we hear whatever this prince wants us to hear.
Well, let's not waste the rest of it out in the cold talking about the past.
He smiles just a little bit and he offers his elbow to her.
And she'll take it.
He leads her back towards their tent.
So I have one last thing. We only have a 2-minute scene, Millie. So Faye, as you are making your way back to your tent tonight, you hear the kind of incidental playing of a lute, and as you get a little bit closer,
sapphire and gold, I'm going to lose my shit because I've been drinking.
It's not sapphire and gold.
Good.
If you are as you get a little bit closer towards it, but not heading directly to it, I imagine, you start to hear the lyrics of an old sailor's song, a song about Old Town.
I think she'll inadvertently sort of sway towards it and be listening out for these lyrics, just trying not to pay too much attention to the sea imagery. Too soon.
And then in some of the torchlight of the camp, you see that there is a minstrel, like a mama, who is singing this tune. And with the light flickering in his eyes, you can see the white of them. He is looking at you as he sings this tune.
She'll realise she's being watched and kind of just wipe her eyes slightly. She wants to appear composed. And she'll meet his gaze and tilt her head to the side and walk up and sort of lean against something near him just to look like she's casually enjoying music.
He's sat on a log or something, right? He's typical minstrel pose or bard pose. And so he spins around a little bit and sits squarely on the log and then looks up at you and says, "Do you enjoy the song, my lady? Perhaps some news as well."
Please, that would be lovely.
You get the impression that he is very aware of his surroundings and who is around here with you, and that for the immediate area is nobody. And so he says in hushed tones, "While Lord Costain is moving in on Old Town, and indeed he is within the city walls, there is resistance, there is rebellion to him taking the High Tower. We are in touch with the maesters of the Citadel, particularly those of the more underworldly arts. Lord Costain believes that he is in charge, when he is in fact being undermined at every turn. Old Town is not truly his, nor is it truly the Black Dragon's."
What an interesting story. I do hope the main character escapes at least temporarily. It would be such a shame if the story ended before we found out everything in his mind.
Perhaps we will escape in the night.
Perhaps we will.
Whilst an army is distracted.
A fitting end to the tale.
The end to only one tale, my lady, but the beginning of another. Hopefully.
God's willing. And she'll seem actually a tiny bit perkier, but there's still an edge to that. And she'll hand over a coin, very generous. And because there's nobody around, she'll just kind of squeeze his hand just for a second, just any human contact that isn't actively malevolent, just for a second, and just hold his gaze with this, like, I am clinging on by my nails here. Thank you, sir. And stand and walk back to her tent.
And that is where we will wrap up tonight's session, folks. It's a short one tonight, as Don because of all the daylight savings nonsense.
Because Don made daylight savings happen.
Don has
Don. Oh dear.
And Don has a game directly after this, so yeah, a short one. But next time we will wrap up. No, we won't wrap up. We will actually see. We'll see through the battle for Summerhall, and what could very well be. Phase escape. We'll have to see. We'll have to see what happens. And yeah, we'll figure out kind of casting too, because if you think purely about it, it could literally just be a Don and I sit and like play out the battle. But I'm interested to see.
Knit or something.
Yeah,
in the corner.
I'll see if people want to. I think it'd be a good juxtaposition too. Like you're trying to leave and like he's trying to get into somewhere. That'd be cool. So the two of you for sure. And if people want to jump in and be like sergeants or other NPCs or whatever, that could be cool too. That's how we usually do it. It's just such a shame you didn't want to go and parlay with Aegon Targaryen. It's such a shame.
I wanted to use my scorpion and shoot him. That's what I wanted to do.
No. I got plans for you, buddy.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see Aegon next week.
that would have been Sam spending a destiny point, being like, you thought. Fine, we're gonna do this mostly by the book.
It's fine.
Mostly by the book.
Yeah. I mean, I would have loved a little bit of, awkward, evil Targaryenness, but
hopefully we can get it next session.
We'll get it
I'm
next
down
session.
for it.
We'll get it next session.
Yeah.
They got to defend what they've got, right? So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And Summerhall has like a bunch of wards too. It's not just Waylon, right? Like they keep
still
wards
a bunch
from
of
all
wards.
these.
Yeah. Remember Joy?
Yeah.
Joy who always cried. Remember her? Yeah, she ain't grown up yet.
Still crying.
Still crying.
Dehydrated.
Oh, she's hit the angsty teenager crying now, I assume then.
Smashing things.
I can't remember if Lyra is still there, Lyra Crane or not, but we'll figure it out. I'm sure Susie will tell me who's meant to be there or not. She was small. Yeah, we're getting ages in chat. All right, let's wrap this up. Millie, you're on first on my overlay. I do not have any words. I
told you I had plans. Just shits and giggles plans. Because it would have been so easy to go into that, right? And go, I am going to intrigue you. I can persuade you.
Yeah.
Where's the fun in that? I want to make it dangerous.
That wasn't shits and giggles plan. That was 30 quid on the fucking West End plans. That was.
Well, I've got weird ideas about shits and giggles, I guess.
You put two actors in a room. Jesus Christ.
That was fun. That was a lot of fun. I've been waiting for that scene with Don since I came on the show, though.
It's exceptional. Absolutely.
And she still hasn't told him about Costain.
And the thing about it is as soon as I found out that you were going to play Faye when you joined the campaign, that was the first thought is like, oh, fuck, I killed that night.
And he was like the guy to her. She was like, he was telling her like how to be a lady, like how to be a lord, basically.
Yeah, he was great. I really liked him.
Yeah, everybody really likes him.
Yeah,
including the guy who slit his throat.
I thought he was great.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
More.
Absolutely.
More.
Of course. We don't stop here. We don't stop here. Well, we do for tonight, but not its entirety. Nice one. All right. What are you doing that you can talk about? If it's nothing, we'll move on. Okay,
Nothing
cool.
Nah.
Oh, anyway, all right. Well, go follow Millie here, all right? Where's the fucking
Follow me on
command?
Twitter. I'll not tell you anything about what I'm doing there.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, cool.
Yeah.
All right, sweet. And then V, obviously. Hello.
Hi. Watching that whole thing between Faye and Samuel was amazing.
Which I could see like a chat, and like we just kept having little things, just like. Ooh.
I was just sitting there eating my Jaffa cakes, enjoying the juicy fruits.
Oh, you got Jaffa cakes, Joe.
I did, yeah. I bought snacks for this. I knew it was happening.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't even care if I do anything on this episode. I just want to see this happen. And I love it when we have intrigues that aren't mechanical intrigues, where we just talk at each other and eventually convince each other of things. And I love that.
It was open for that to go that way, right? Like you could have made us roll to see if we could convince ourselves of truths. But
I think it was way more interesting. Just
it's up to you guys. I say, if you want to say I want to pull out the intrigue rules, I'll do it. But if you just want to talk, you can talk. I love the little kind of weird love triangle that's going on, and
that's
like how
we talked about, like right at the beginning, right?
Yeah, and like how you consoled him afterwards, but then you were talking to Faye about your concerns, like how it's all just,
Yeah,
I love the Faye that asked the question, of which the answer took me and Millie one day just having a random conversation, going, hold on a minute, timelines, and both of us spiderwebbing and going, oh my god, it's taken us 5.5 seasons, but we've just worked out that Samuel was
we
so
and I
engaged
scream
to
at
Faye.
each other a lot when we realise things, just like.
But I think that launched like a half an hour conversation into all the possibilities of what that meant. I love that Mara and Samuel finally get to have the conversation of like, are we the bad guys?
Yes.
Are you doing
No, you're all bad people. You're all terrible. You're the ruling class. Get over it.
I think is a thing both of the characters have been kind of sitting with quietly on their own, not wanting to ask. And I can't wait to burn Summerhall to the ground and get my brother back. And I'm still kind of hoping. I know that we said we weren't going to march on Greenmont, but I'm still kind of hoping that we do end up marching on Greenmont.
Fair.
Just Mara would take such a sick satisfaction in showing up and being like, so this is ours now. Thanks.
Nice.
You know, she really does not like the fact that Greenmont is now a Targaryen house, because she thinks it's an insult to her father. She's the one Greenmont child who got loved by her father that's still alive. So
Look how well that turned out.
Wow.
Canonically, Miria never got treated well. Simon was shipped to the Citadel.
Yeah.
Her 2 brothers died. She was the last one left that Papa Lucas had a half-decent relationship with that wasn't twisted by something terrible.
Fair enough. All right. Super quick plugs, go.
You can find me streaming sometimes. My schedule's been a bit weird, and I have a new project that I'm launching called Lovers of the Creepy and Mysterious. So if a system agnostic supplement full of weird, creepy, mysterious locations to throw into your mystery horror orientated games is kind of your thing, like weird internet theories and strange like number stations and shit is your thing, I guess check it out. I'm teasing and previewing stuff over on Twitter at the moment while I work on it. So
that subject matter doesn't sound like you at all. Sarcasm. Nice. Thank you so much. Dawn, I know you've got to get away, but oh my god, thank you for the juicy fruits. Oh.
Yeah, it's so much fun. I loved like it was like really like 4 scenes, but like 3 big scenes. I love the intro scene and how awkward the table conversation was. It was awful. Pretty sure that Hedge Knight is like, maybe I don't want to take this job. Which might be the best for him, right? He's just keep writing. Just don't stop writing. Run far away. And I love the scene at the top of the hill. A lot of stuff that's been there for a long time came out. Some things that surprised me, I thought were awesome. And
best kind of stuff.
Best kind. And I liked a lot the final scene too with Mara and Samuel having the opportunity to like, I don't know, like start to second guess himself at probably the worst possible time to start second guessing himself. Yeah. And I think that without that previous conversation with Faye having been as emotionally confusing as it was, that he probably would have attacked. He probably would have broken the sort of politics of parlay to try to take advantage of that immediately. And it would have been a bad decision. And Mara being there and him not feeling as confident and her recommending another course of action probably save some lives. So I thought that was cool too. I am looking forward to the battle. I won't lie. It's been a while. Samwell's not technically killed anybody in this campaign himself, but he is really good. He's really good at it. So I would like to see how that goes too. But no, I've had a great time. Looking forward to next week. Love what's going on down in Fox Hollow too, with all of the other juice and all the other drama. I'm excited for at some point those paths to cross again, because I know it's going to be really, really good. But that was a lot of fun to watch last week. And as for me, if you want to follow me on social media, I'm kind of on Twitter. Sometimes I tweet about the things that I'm doing at Jonathan Fry. I run games full time. That's my life. That's my job. It's a great big joy. And I consider myself very, very lucky, and always very lucky and happy to be here with this group of people telling this story.
I'm going to have to add your Patreon to my command, because I always plug it and you never talk about it.
It's on my Twitter. So if you go to my Twitter, it's right there.
Yeah, that's fair. Awesome. Alrighty then. Well, we are going to be maybe here, depending on what Susie wants to do, on Saturday for an after the fire. So she'll be taking over the channel for that. Or doing it on her channel. I literally don't know. It was like one Discord message. So check out Twitter for that.
I feel the need to scream about this.
Exactly, right.
Don't know about anybody else.
Yeah. I'll be away for the weekend, but these fine folks will probably getting together to chat about it. So keep your eye on social medias for that. You can follow us around the internet at Follow Black Cats. You can follow me around the internet at RPG Webby. And then our usual schedule is a Wednesday evening, 7 p.m. UK, which is going to shake out next week to 2 p.m. Eastern. And that is our Hexcrawl, our spy game campaign, in which the band is back together in London, and they're going to wreak havoc on a protest that's definitely going to go south. And then on Thursdays, we're back for After the Fire. Next week, we are here with the Battle for Summerhall, which I am going to be calling The Butcher and the Bright Prince. What a title. So do not miss that, because I have some plans. It is going to be juicy AF. And we're going to do a proper Battle of the Bastards style episode where we follow Samwell through the battle, which Don and I really enjoy that kind of thing. So we're going to do that. So we're going to figure out before the week is up, like how the battle is going to go, and then Samwell is going to get inserted, and Don can change and shift the tide of battle as the character is able. So stick with us next week, because it is going to be just as fucking juicy, and as per usual, I have not found a person to raid, so we're very quickly going to throw it over to Doc Rimbo, who is playing Red Dead Redemption 2. And here we go. Yes, congratulations, I did it first time. We will see you next week then, friends, if not on Saturday, if Susie is streaming that after the fire. So until then, take care of yourselves and have a good night. Bye-bye.